Shooter Breeze topic number 3 tonight says, slave trade exposed? Did the Abrahamics, it's supposed to be Abrahamics, did the Abrahamics team up with traitors to destroy us, or is he lying? This came with a link. Make sure I have the right one. This came with a link. We'll watch it and then we'll discuss it.
Sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Naya. If this is your Naya, if this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash that subscribe button and turn your notification so you are notified each time I upload. And please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all so much, and I'm saying a very big shout out to every one of you for the support. You all shower me here with. I am grateful, and you all are super sweet. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about a video that I saw online, and I thought it's something I should share with you. But then I tried finding more details about this particular person speaking, but I couldn't. But I really do want you all to educate me more on this, because how he started the whole thing, and he was asking, why are they only teaching people or teaching Black people the history of slavery? And why do they always go far back to talk about history of slavery? You know what? I am just going to get into this video. We'll come back to talk about it. So straight up, let's get into it.
Why? Ask the bloody question. Why are they only teaching you the history of slavery as far back as the 16th and the 17th century? Why are they only going that far back? Because they don't want you to go farther back than that, because then you'll actually find out the truth. But from the 16th and 17th century, we'll teach you about slavery. You've got to go further back. And you've got to understand and question, why do they do this throughout the whole of America, in all the public schools? Why do they only go back as far as the 16th and the 17th century to talk about slavery? We've got to go further back than that. Because Islam designed infernal slavery. And then the Ashkenazi KWAZ, those who say they are Jews and are not, are the ones that marketed it, and the regal Negro nomads exiled from the kingdom of Judah were the main recipients of it at the hands of the indigenous Black Africans. Because you've got to understand, the regal class of the house of Judah came down from Israel, and they came into the land of the Black Africans. And the Black Africans resented the regal class of the house of Judah in their land, because they had laws, they had customs, they had civility, and they were a regal class of Negro that came down into Africa. And later on, it was the Ashkenazi, the Islamic slave traders as well, that then worked together with the indigenous Black Africans to enslave the regal house of Judah. This is what we've got to understand, but you've got to go back before the 16th century to understand the roots of it. So we're going to see, as we dig into this, where this slavery came from, because it was really a system that was very, very well crafted. There was Islamic masters, and there were white Ashkenazi KWAZ ship owners. There were the buyers and the sellers. And they're not going to fill you in on all of this, but really you've got a 4-tier system. Number one, you have the Negro nomads that were exiled from the kingdom of Judah. Number two, you had indigenous Black African hunters that resented the regal Negro nomads that had come into their territory with their own customs, with their own laws that were different and would not assimilate into their tribal culture. They were their own tribe. They were the regal house of Judah. Number three, you had Islamic trappers that worked with the indigenous black Africans to trap the regal Negro House of Judah. And then you had them sell them to the Ashkenazi ship merchants, along with many Portuguese and British Ashkenazi. So again, we've got the four-tier system. Number one, we have the regal Negro nomadic class that are exiled from the kingdom of Judah. They are their own royal tribe in Africa. Then, number two, we have the native black African trackers. They're going to track them down. And number three, we have the Islamic trappers, because between 650 of the Common Era and 1900 of the Common Era, 10 to 20 million people were enslaved by the Arab slave traders. Over 20 million enslaved Africans were delivered through the Trans-Sahara route to the Islamic world. Can you get your head around that? That's not even touching the Americas. Over 80 million more blacks died at the hands of Islam en route. And number four, we have Ashkenazi Khazar Jewish ship merchants. And of course, the Portuguese and the British Ashkenazi were the main buyers. Islam and the Ashkenazi, those that say that they are Jews and are not, were the main sellers. Does that make sense? You've got to dig into this further. We have the two tiers right there. We have the Islamic trappers, and then we have the Ashkenazi ship merchants. You see, the Romans, they were globalist slavers. They were globalists then and now. They just migrated to Gaul, Ashkenazi, the sellers, and Britain, the British, of course, the buyers. German Jewry and British Jewry, where have they gone to? Well, they've descended upon Wall Street, upon Hollywood and Washington, D.C., as we see it right now, just to fuel this cataclysmic final war of globalism, which is none other than renaming colonialism. And this is the world that you and I live in. And I'm so sick and tired of these talking heads when it comes to the election time, trying to enslave everybody and cause racial division to try and get the votes. When ultimately, if Israel would just wake up to who's enslaving us, regardless of our skin color, he says what? I am Yahweh your Elohim that delivered you from slavery. We all need to get out from underneath this slavery system, and we need to come together as Joseph's multicolored Melchizedek cloak. But we've got to help identify who are our Jewish brothers and where are our Jewish brothers as the whole house of Israel comes together. Because Islam and the Slavic regions, I mean, where do we get these names? Yugoslavia, of course, Czechoslovakia, Slovakia. These were all regions of bestial slavery that eventually arrived on the African continent. These were areas where Islam invented infernal slavery up in those Slavic regions that then eventually arrived on the African continent. And the black regal Negroes of Judah were the recipients of it. But not only black Judah, but Europeans were even kidnapped by the Arabs and the Ashkenazi traders during the war or peace periods in the medieval times.
So this is all I got from this video, and you all have so many explanations to do, because like what is going on with this. So like I said, you already have explanation to do in the comment section, and I am listening. And I think the answer is kind of simple. I mean, maintain control through constant division or something. But like, you know, I don't know, but we just talked about US, like, you know, history as as if it's kind of a planned attack. I mean, each tried to keep them from the big picture. And I just, this is kind of a little bit hard for me to explain, sincerely speaking. I don't know if I should say I feel kind of new or relieved just after listening to this, but then the truth has been said, several times, and it's time really people need to wake up and be proud of who they are and the rest of it. Just but more, I really need more explanation to this. I don't know whom this man is, because I was like, maybe I could get more information from, like, him talking and all that. But I really don't know him. I don't know, like, I did not find any other thing pertaining to this or concerning this. But then I think this is just a must listen. And I think it's time to wake up finally, like, the truth is being told. And yeah, so I wish and I hope that I can find more of this to bring in, and to also educate myself to understand better and all that. But I think it's really very interesting. But then let me know what you all think, because I need you all to, like, talk to me more. I mean, let's get into details about this particular thing. And this is where our channel.
Oh boy, that was a slog. I know only things like me, but did y'all find that white boy interesting at all? I found him completely uninteresting. RBG, you had some things to say in the chat. What's
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it is true, what I'm saying, as far as his like initials. I mean, yeah, a lot of that slavery is that KZARs. I've done some research on that too. They came up all the way through Europe, all that. Now, as far as his Islamic interpretation, I mean, my problem is that personally, I know that the Proto Arab is a Jew, is a KZAR, is a Caucasian, literally, in who came south from the Caucasus region into that Arabian region, which was probably predominantly, much darker Africanish than it is now. You know what I'm saying? Kind of the Yemenis type, was probably all throughout, much of that area before, the gradations of the invasions, and people moving around, and but I know that what they call Arabs, it's that same, it comes from that same source of Khazaria, the Caucasus Mountain area. I just know that historically. There is a place, and I'm gonna speak a time frame like 600, I think, like 20s. A place, I'm gonna write it in the chat. It's called the Iberian Emirate. IBER, Iberian Emirate. Okay, I put it in the chat. Now that word Iberia is interesting, because I don't know if some of y'all know, that's what, a lot of people, when we talk about geography and place names, right? When we talk about Spain and Portugal, we call that whole landmass the Iberian Peninsula. Look, these names come from real other places. That's how I know that when people talk about the whole Sephardic thing, I get it. There's a connection between Iberia and the Caucasus, just on hard geographical naming alone. And so I get that, like, and so there's Emirates all up in the Caucasus Mountains. I mean, this place was like in where they call it like Georgia and Armenia and Azerbaijan and stuff like that. So like I get that. Like, so the slavery that he's talking about, yeah, they enslaved white folks. Them white folks enslaved other white folks, and then the Muslims, they're saying that proxy Khazarian. I'm gonna start calling Arabs proxy Khazarians though, for real. But like, they came through, and they had all that shit, Y'all know about them white folks being enslaved, He was right about that. But then he slips in that all that nonsense. He talking about black folks. They got none of that shit right, because they're trying to make, again, like the whole things that like the peoples, there are black people. Now I don't care about that, because I know about all that wasn't, I mean, the fact that those people, by the time those people weren't really associated with Africa anyways, like they were black, but like those are kind of marginalized, kind of like in the peripheral of what we call what we talk about as Africa. You know, all that stuff is still always be peripheral to you know what I'm saying, where the people are in Africa. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I get that. It's like I know that he's wrong. I know he's just spitting a lot of nonsense. I don't like that term Rego Negro, that alliteration and rhyme. That's, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Oh, we all kings and queens. You know what I'm saying? Everyone can't be a king. Someone has to serve, you know what I'm saying, the king and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like that. He has some truth and he spins it all hard. And I mean, naturally, I think we all feel the same way. I hope we do that. You know what I'm saying? He's just spending a whole bunch of nonsense trying to, like, you know what I'm saying, guilt trip people into some nonsense. He needs to stick to, you know what I'm saying, European history. That's where he got right. You know what I'm saying? If he blends in all this black history and this fake Judaism, he all wrong. Because I mean, I don't want to be a part of that Jewry that was in part of the slaving people in the first place. You see what I'm saying? The KWAZ are the Jews, so we're the Jews too. Bullshit. I'm gonna pass the mic.
The KWAZ are the Jews, absolutely. And if you posted this prompt and you're out there in the chat, join the panel. Let's hear your thoughts on it too. I'm going to mix it up a little bit here. Let me get the pro-black perspective. Oni speaking next. Oni would say you.
Yeah, so my thing is, why is this sister so mesmerized by this? Clearly, like this is one of the troubles that I find with regard to our people, is that we are so historically undereducated or undereducated on the history that anybody could come along and just start bullshitting and then just mesmerized or speechless. The lady was speechless. And it's like I ain't gonna hold you. I started dazing out because I didn't know what. Like, I was like, why am I listening to this dude? Like clearly he's bullshitting. The regal blah blah blah. Like, shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? And you know, and y'all don't know if y'all peeped it, but he was saying that he was himself a Jew too. Shut the fuck up. And the thing I noticed is this: that he sounded like one of them Hebrew Israelites, right? But he's a whole ass white man. And you realize that a lot of these Hebrew Israelites bite these white folk. Like, a lot of times when you see the weird shit going on in the black circles, you find it in white circles too. And that's what like takes me aback. You know, even like you say, oh, what about the like the Masons and shit? You know, you had the you know, some group, I can't remember the names, but a lot of it is just black folk biting white folk, forgetting that they are not white folk, and then that's where all the problems and we all of a sudden have to deal with the stupidity because these white folk were tricking white folk. Like I have this book, I don't remember the name of it right now, but the dude's talking about how a lot of times there are a lot of cults in the white community. He said there's a lot of cults in the white community, and he was like, yeah, sometimes black folk go with cults too. And he was like, one of the prominent cult leaders in black circles now, you know, some people might not agree, some people might disagree, some people might agree. But one of the prominent cult leaders was Elijah Muhammad. And he was like, oh, he copied an earlier cult leader, the same guy I'm trying to think about, but I don't know, Prince Hall maybe or something like that. But he copied another cult leader. But all of them are really copying cult leaders in white circles. And you see it. And you see, like the thing that we have to do is give our people some sort of education so that when they see some stupidity, right, they just say, you know what, that's just stupidity, and go about their day. But we don't have that. So you have this sister who looks like a decent sister, right? Is not speechless. And this is continuous. And I'm gonna just say this. I know Barney gonna say I'm ranting. But I remember one time I was on this dating app, and I connected with this Hebrew Israelite. I unmatched her, but I looked through her profile, and she's like, a bunch of dudes are arguing with her and debating her. She's like, I'm not into debates. I don't want to argue. The blah blah, and we're the blah blah. And it's like, of course. Because you come into this motherfucking stupid ass cult mentality, you're never gonna find no motherfucking happiness. You're never gonna find a good man. Only kind of man you're gonna find is another damn fool. Because you a damn fool. Call yourself a damn Hebrew Israelite, and you clearly an African. What's wrong with you? And this man clearly not even a Jew, even none of them fake Jews. Not even one of them fake Jews. And he's like, oh yeah, the real Jews. Shut the fuck up, piece of shit. Sorry.
only just now he defined the problem, but last week he make a print he make a statement in terms of Kamji verse. Kamji verse, I knew were responsible for this, by the way, because he make a statement say Kamji verse should stay in academia in terms of the high level conversations that he has. Currently, Oni is talking about Marxism. Now, I could follow along Marxism. I read Marxism. I read some of the stuff, and it takes me a long time to even understand it. Kamji verse speaks on a certain scientific level. Oni is a physicist. They speak on the levels that they speak on. I'm saying that the audience that they're gonna reach the more of, he say you need to educate. You need to educate. He is at a position where he could educate because he understands. The first thing is that when we talk about this African sister, you have to explain to her on a rudimentary level. First of all, Abraham never existed. That's on a basic level. We talking about Marx. We talking about ancient Kemet. We talking about the linguistics that go. That is that's like that is a higher level of learning. I understand that's for another class, but for my academicians and my intellectuals, they need to be able to break down some of these just a simplistic terms and ideas. So you need to educate. This is you don't know Abraham don't exist. You have to start there, brother. You have to start there and raise the level of consciousness of the people. And you all have the ability to do because you're all intellectuals. So it's like you all jumping ahead and you're going in the fourth year. And I'm saying our people in the first year. And you have to be able to educate them at the first year before you could go into the fourth year. Yes, you have students who are able to follow along in the fourth year classroom version of what you're trying to articulate and teach. But I'm saying the majority of your students are still in the first year. You must be able to teach them on that level to understand, disabuse them of the misinformation that they've been given first and foremost. You must condescend to their level first and then raise them to the status of the level that you want them to go to. This is my issue, what I have with y'all brothers sometimes. But needless to say, I would only say for this particular video that Abraham never existed. And this devil right here, I like to stay focused on what is relevant. He is a westernized European devil. So he came from out of one of the European countries that practice colonialism. I will deal with him first in his history before I would want to switch hands and deal with the Arabs. They are my other enemies. I ain't worrying about them. I worry about you and what you do, not necessarily what they do. I could deal with what they do with them, but in terms of what you do, I want to focus on what you do specifically to my people, to disenfranchise them, to remove all knowledge from their minds, to make them think on a religious, mystical level. I want to deal with you first. Use the devil I want to deal with. Then when it's time for me to deal with the Mohammedans, I will deal with the Mohammedans. But for you, you don't have to speak for them. You in the courtroom. You in the courtroom right now. And we want to deal with you specifically. You know, and I think that this is what the devils do, because the devil really just mean a great deceiver, creating confusion. He said, well, we ain't do it. You have to focus on them. No, I will focus on what your actions was, your ancestors' actions was. When I have the Arabs in the courtroom, then I would adjudicate them for what the things and what they did, the crimes and what they would have committed against my black people, my continental Africans. But I am in the Western world speaking the English language because of what your ancestors did. So let's deal with you first and foremost. You know, he's a grand distractor. That's why I call him a devil. But I'll leave it there.
Well,
I appreciate it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I would say this. I want Bonner to hear this part. So one of the best essays is inside of this book called When We Ruled, right? And it's arguably one of the best history books when he wrote, right? So you guys should get it. But there's an essay by an author in the book that's not Robin Walker. And he talks about how there are 3 levels of knowledge, right? And he's actually critical of us because we tend to only stay with the first level of knowledge and the second level of knowledge, but not the third level of knowledge, right? And the example he gives was, we would say black people invented the stoplight, right? That's the first level of knowledge, right? And the second level of knowledge would be, whatever this guy's name was, I can't remember, like some Morgan or something like that, put the patent for this sort of device. But the third level of knowledge, he said, was for you to actually describe in detail what's in that patent. So that, and he's like, it's the third level of knowledge that makes people able to not just research, but also replicate. Because you just telling me black people invented the stoplight, yeah, okay, I feel good about it. But can I make a device similar to the stoplight? No, not from that what you just told me. Whereas if you were to detail it, then that's different. So what I would say separately, separate from the when we rule text, is that we should have text and communications at all levels because every other people do. So, we should have elementary text, but also postgraduate text. And we already have, like in my perspective, we already have collegiate level text. We already have high school level text. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to the African consciousness on a high school level, you might pick up autobiography of Malcolm X. And if you want to go a little bit more advanced, a little more deep, you might pick up, Amos Wilson or Romani or something along those lines. And for my part, yes, there's elementary level stuff, and I've produced a children's book. But what I'm saying is that you also want to produce things at the postgraduate and the graduate level because you're not, as a people, going to really truly advance if all you're doing is holding people's hands and keeping them at an elementary level. So when you said the brother Kanji verse, what Kanji verse is doing is really giving us where and how we can discover the roots and the movements of African history and African people on a deep and intellectual level that's verifiable that we can look into. I could easily tell you, hey, these people, African people are all connected, so on and so forth. And I've done that in a sentence or two, right? That's not going to give you the deep sort of connections and a deep sort of communication. So you do want that graduate level, that postgraduate level scholarship or that postgraduate level narrative, even if it's not going to reach everybody, because sometimes people are looking to find something, and sometimes they're saying, why can't I find this? We're not doing this. Are we not scholarly? But brothers like Kanji first say, oh no, look, yeah, we are scholarly. And that's all I'm saying, man.
But
I agree with,
oh, sorry.
I agree with that. I get where Buana was coming from in terms of Kamji verse and himself, but I think keep it academic. I think a lot of our people, especially in the conscious community, need to level up now. It's time for us to read on a graduate level, so to speak, to reason on a graduate level, so to speak, to write on a graduate level, so to speak. I think it's time for us to level up, and our people are going to have to come in and do the work to level them up, to understanding what a Kamji is talking about. I too sometimes I watch Kamji's videos and I'm like, what? But it makes me have to go and start looking up some things, and that's what our people need to do. Our people need to become researchers in a heavy way. Buana wanted to say something, so Buana, you go.
Wait, before Buana goes, can I say something? Before he starts rebutting.
All right. Go ahead.
So, to Oni's point, so I had an ex-girlfriend who became a Hebrew Israelite. So a lot of the stuff he's talking sounds a lot like the nonsense she would say. First of all, I'm a product of the American school system. And I got to tell you, they're not teaching me about slavery from the 16th century or so on. Any knowledge that I have about slavery, I was self-taught. Or my mother, she bought me books to encourage me to learn. They're not teaching you this in school. As an educator myself, they're not teaching the kids about slavery. But this idea that it's some sort of hidden knowledge, it's very well documented that the Ottoman Empire, the Barbary states of North Africa, in fact, the very first war the United States was engaged in back in the 1790s was with the Barbary states, the Barbary pirates. They also, in the Marine Corps anthem, they talk about from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. They're talking about that battling the Barbary pirates in North Africa. So they were engaged heavily in the slave trade. This is not hidden knowledge. I hate how this dude is really talking about he's revealing some secret we didn't know. Bitch, we knew this. This is nothing new. This whole idea about this regal Negroes, the whole noble tribe of Judah, that's comes from that Hebrew ideology where the kingdom of Judah, they escaped in Africa to escape the Romans after the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. There's no archaeological evidence to prove that the remnants of people of Judah escaped into West Africa. There's zero. This is a myth that they have been propagating over and over and over again. In fact, there was no royal family. Whatever royal lineage that existed in the kingdom of Judah had been destroyed centuries ago. At the time of the Romans, they were a vassal state of the Roman Empire. People really need to get this mythology out of their head. The Bible is not a history book. It is not a book that has accurate historical documented facts. You may see some things that happen in history that are mentioned in the Bible. That doesn't make the Bible real. Excuse me. Just because Spider-Man lives in New York and New York is real doesn't mean Spider-Man is real. Okay? So people really kill me when they reference the holy scriptures. So, and I'm saying in air quotes about things like that. Yes, Urzuli, I do know that. The Exodus never happened. Moses never parted the Red Sea. Abraham never existed. Moses never existed. David didn't exist. No, you can't prove to me any archaeological evidence that any of these people existed. Show me any documents from that historical time period to show these people existed and they lived on the earth. You can't show it to me. I can show you evidence that Alexander the Great existed. Shaka Zulu existed, Abraham Lincoln existed. Can you give me any documented evidence that anybody from the Bible, from Moses, Abraham, Adam, Eve, any of these people are mythological figures. They're no more real than Hercules or Robin Hood. We have to accept that fact. I'm sorry. That's a hard truth for a lot of African people because we've been so indoctrinated into believing in these monotheistic murder cults. But yeah, I'm sorry. The tooth fairy isn't real. Sorry to bring it to you. But yeah, I agree with you, Coco. We do need to deepen our scholarship because what this man is saying is nothing deep or scholarly. We understand that the slave trade was financed by Jewish people. This is not new. I mean, we know this. Maybe we need to do a better job of educating our people. Maybe that's where we need. Maybe the flaw is in ourselves and not within just African people. Maybe the job of as Kwame Ture said, is the job of the conscious to make the unconscious conscious. So maybe we're dropping the ball on that to where we're not educating our people enough to where this type of stuff, we can see through this bullshit for what it is. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Yeah, Black Steel, I agree 100%. I think we do need to teach our people how to level up with knowledge. I think it was Trigger Happy in the chat who said it, that there is resources for, I think he said the high school, but even the elementary, so-called elementary school guys in consciousness. There's information for you out there that you could grasp today or tomorrow, right? You might have to put in a little bit more work, but you'll get to a controverse level of thinking. I think we need to be pushing ourselves towards that direction. There's a guy in the chat named Anthony McPhail. You guys are familiar with him, but under a different name. I kind of don't want to say what the other name is, but this is a guy. This man here, Anthony McPhail, is a guy who was well read. and has been doing it for some time now. And I'd like to see myself and others reach that level. Not only having done the reading and processing through the work, but having the ability to retain most of it. That's the impressive part, because you saw Anthony going back and forth with Real Black Gentleman and others. He can hit you with the facts and retain the numbers and stuff. That's what we all should be aspiring to. Now, I know Buana was starting to say something earlier, so I'll give Buana the opportunity to say his piece. If not, he could pass the time, and I'll go to someone else. But Buana, go ahead.
No way, no way. Carl has a kind. Well, Black Steel just made it abundantly clear, and he did a very well, a good job of it in terms of explaining the at the point or the level, because he is an educator. He's an educator. So he's breaking it down and explaining why some of these things. He said that the Bible is not a historical book. For that statement get a fight from my brothers in the chat, from my brother in the chat. That statement itself get a fight. But it's not a historical book. It is not a historical book. In fact, it's a book of fairy tales, if I'm being honest. And I hold back these things because I understand that most of our people still carry these ideas close to their chest. And like I say, I think that Oni in his perspective, his conclusions, and yourself, Koku, and Kamji verse to a certain degree, because he heard what I said. I think that you're all wrong in your conclusions. I think you're all wrong. You all say the people should level up, and no, I think you all should approach the people where they are. They're not there yet. And I think, well, maybe I might. Time will tell who is wrong in the whole equation. Time will tell who's wrong in the whole equation. But I think that it's a mistake. I think it's a mistake. When you jump ahead, I do believe that there should be intellectual vigor, like my brother was saying earlier. Oni was telling me earlier in one of the chats, he said there should be intellectual vigor. We do want our people to do research for themselves, in and out of themselves. We do want them to provide them with information and evidence, and want them to ascend to the level of where we are so we can push it further. We do want that. That's the best outcome for us. But I say we should reach the people where they are first. The brothers them still believe Moses was real. They still believe Abraham was real. They still believe these things. You have to disabuse the people them on an elementary level before you even reach to these kinds of heights. And this is where I put it to the heights. I think it's a mistake to run ahead of your class. I think it's a mistake. You know what I mean? But like I say, time will tell. Time will tell who was wrong, who was right about it.
So
time will tell.
So I would say it's one or two.
Yes, sir. Yes,
it's
sir.
a matter of faith, because in reality, it's not some. It's that. Here's the thing: is that if you're someone who's a Christian, who's devout Christian, Bible-believing Christian, the Bible is the Word of God. Therefore, to doubt the Bible is to doubt God itself. If the Bible is not true, then therefore God is not true. If the Bible is inaccurate, that means God is inaccurate. So therefore, in their mind, the Bible has to be accurate. Any evidence to the contrary will be ignored. It will be considered to be Satan, anything. So, and I often reference this. There was a time where people read the Bible and they believed the universe was a geocentric universe. The Earth was in the center of the solar system. Everything revolved around the Earth. But when the evidence came out that we actually lived in a heliocentric universe, and with the Earth, the sun is the center of the universe, and the Earth and all the other planets revolve around the sun. This contradicts what is taught in the scriptures, which it says the Earth is fixed, it does not move. So because of this contradiction in the scripture, there were many European scientists who, when they revealed this truth, they were brought before the Inquisition and had their lives threatened, because we don't care what your evidence proves. Your evidence contradicts what is taught in the scripture. Therefore, you are wrong. And if you do not say you're wrong, we're going to kill you torturously and horribly. So Shut the fuck up, man. I don't have the patience tonight for you.
The job, the quick call, Black Steel, the job of the Black intellectual is to resolve that equation that you
Yes.
just put out there. That's the job of the Black intellectual. I understand the importance of talking in terms of the historical, our history. Our history and the historical evidences that we have put on the planet, but you have to relate that back. If you say that the so-called, if the equation that you just said, if
Right.
the God evidence is in the Bible, if you equate and you draw all that evidence, then you must replace that with something because you are creating a void. So now you have to explain to me, okay, so now I'm going to show you that this God concept existed before this book that was beset before you, and why, the reasons why. So, like I say, the job of the intellectual is to put the fillers in, the questions that is going to be created when you create that void. When you show, well, nah, that's not necessarily true. Is it God? Is this book God's word? You show me why it's not God's word. Okay, give me some better examples. So now you're going back. You peeling back the past and show me, okay, well, we existed on the planet. Why? What is the God concept? What's really God? All these explanations will be given after the fact. So I'm saying that this is a job of an intellectual. And if you start with certain things that's way beyond the gate, or the mindset of the person you just mentioned, then you losing them completely. And I feel like it's a mistake for the black intellectual to start at that point. You have to start at the point of where the mind you have to start to the point of where a black person is in the Western world currently. Not only when I say Western world, I mean Africa as well. But you have to start at that place first and disabuse them of that notion, and then go forward. This is the reason why when you hear a person like Dr. Amos Wilson, and you hear a person like Dr. John Henry Clark, he talked in stories. Even though the stories he tell had historical implications, he put it in a context where the mind of the Western African could follow the storyline. He could follow the storyline, and that's how we kind of like develop their mind in the Western world. And I feel like we are tasked with that kind of job. The black intellectual currently is tasked with that kind of job. And whether they believe it or not, this is what I believe. Their conclusions may be different, but this is what I believe. But I'll stop there.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. That is the job of the black intellectual, and I think that's a responsibility that many of us have actually forgotten. We get our degrees or we get our standing, and then we go and we start getting jobs in academia, and we forget that we have to reach back and educate our people. But I think also too we have to understand that Abrahamic religion, be it Christianity, Islam, Judaism, has always been used as a tool of subjugation. And I think that when white people show up, they show up with their missionaries. And right behind the missionaries, they bring in the guns, they bring in the cannons, they bring in the colonizers. So we can't lose sight of how this religious belief has worked to keep our people in a state of subjugation, both physically and mentally. So when I hear this man talking his nonsense about, the Ashkenazim and all the other crap, it's almost as a way to deflect from what the Europeans did. Yeah, we know the Arabs did their stuff. Yeah, we know the Jews pay for it, but we also can't ignore how the Portuguese got wealthy off it, how the Spanish, how the French, how the British, how all these other African cultures, these European people made their fortunes and create their wealth off of African blood and sweat and tears. So yeah, we're not gonna just gloss over what you did to focus on the Arabs. Yeah, we know the Arabs did their shit. Their day is coming too. Believe you me. They have to pay the price for what they did and how they built their wealth off of it. So to me, his whole commentary is just about, hey, we don't teach y'all about that stuff. Yeah, this is the U.S. education system is trash. It is what it is. These kids can barely do advanced algebra. But the point is, we're not going to gloss over forget about what you did to focus on what they did. All of you are complicit. Just even with the French and what they did, the Portuguese and what they did, we're well aware of that. So his whole idea is just, to me, it's not trustworthy. I'll leave it there. I know it's kind of late.
Yeah.
The brother Comjiverse came back. Just want to ask him quickly, were you able to catch the presentation for this prompt? If you're still there, look like he fell off. In the meantime, let's get Azuliism. Azuliism, what's your thoughts on this prompt?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? My whole situation is this.
Yeah.
This guy, I'm saying he's spilling some truth mixed with a lot of BS to alleviate his people of their participation and the destruction of our people. So that's what I believe. I'm not saying everything that this man said is facts or whatever, but I'm saying, just like I'm saying, like people want to say the Bible and the Quran are fake or whatever. All this shit that everybody's spewing right now, talk about, oh, we all came out of Africa, all of this, all of that. You wasn't there when that happened. All of that was told to you. The whole shit about the earth is a helio. You was told that. You've never made the evidence to see it. Who told you that? The same people who enslaved you. So I'm not here to say that the Bible is 100% true or the Quran. What I'm saying is the same way y'all want to come at the Bible, y'all don't come the same way as those supposedly everybody came out of Africa type shit that they taught you. So how come you pick and choose? Oh, because it makes you feel good that everybody came out of Africa. Yeah, that's true. But the other shit is not. So this guy talking right now, I understand some of the stuff he said. Like, yeah, all these people participated, mixed with our people who got in touch with the and enslaved us. There was traders in all of our sect. Just like you go to Haiti, you're gonna find traders. You go to the Dominican, you go to Jamaica, you're gonna find traders. The guy that killed what's the brother that was from the Black Panther Party that they just made the movie about, the Messiah, Judah and the Messiah, whatever. He was betrayed by his own. So for them to say, oh, I don't believe what this because he's a Mzungu, or I don't believe that's so you accept other shit, but this shit y'all don't want to accept it. So after this, I'm just gonna say that I'm not saying that the latter part of what he said, it was a little bit of like, oh, we in this together. Bro, your peoples did that. But I'm not gonna sit here and dismiss everything he said because the Abrahamic. So somebody said the Abrahamic religion was made to enslave you. Have you read the Old Testament? The Old Testament tell you if you kill my sister, I gotta kill your sister. The Old Testament tells you an eye for an eye. It's whatever they teach you in that book that the pastors and the black churches teach you, the New Testament. Go read the 5 books of Moses. See if you could use that book just like what that movie with Nat Turner. He said that you could use certain part of the Bible to free yourself. So I don't understand. I mean, I'm saying the same way I want to believe in science. Who gave you that science you're talking about? It was not from Kemet. It was not from your own people. So for people to say, and I'm not here defending the Abraham religion, saying it's the truth, but I'm saying we all don't know shit. It's what they've been telling us when we was little youths. But I tell you, if you go read the book of the five book of Moses, the Old Testament, it tells you that if you slap me, I slap you. An eye for an eye. It's that New Testament that I don't know what's going on. That you just, I gotta pray for my enemies. The Old Testament don't even agree with that. All right, so that's what I have to say.
Urzuli, quick question: are you working out with them African fellas right now?
Nah, but I'm at the gym though. Yo, Koku, you ain't shit. Now you're gonna have Joanna and all of them. Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Are you looking at them?
Shut up,
Yo, flag on the play.
Yo, flag for real. Yo, Coco, why you did that? Yo, oh my God.
That's why Zuli was defending him so hard. Comes you, sorry.
Wow.
Did you take your Rough Riders with you to the gym?
Oh boy. Comes you
Yeah,
versus
that's exactly why I didn't want to come on, because I knew y'all was gonna hear. Oh my God.
Comes you versus return. He has some thoughts. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I just came in, because I was kind of responding to the intellectual side of the debate about like, whether or not it's needed. And coincidentally enough, like as I said last time, I was going to release some children-centered content, and I do have it on my page right now about blackness and the origin of life, right? So like it's going to be interesting to see like who shares that, with the kids in their life or their loved ones or whatnot. But as far as this whole debate about Abrahamic traditions, to me, if you don't answer the Afro-Asiatic question, then it's not really a serious conversation. Because if Afro-Asiatic is legitimate, then all of these Abrahamic traditions are part of African culture. We shouldn't have anything negative to say about it. But if it's not legitimate and we do want to speak about the negative impacts that it has on us with regards to slavery, and we want to hold these different groups of people accountable, then that's a different conversation, and it requires some consistency both on the scholastic level and the institution and organizational level. So for my thing, I just want to know what side everybody's on and what context that we're operating in, because it's possible to get some liberatory aspects from both contexts, but we have to be serious with our approach, just to make sure that there's not necessarily flimsiness or people who are riding the fence and so on and so forth. So with regard to that, I would say that, yeah, there's collaboration. There's always going to be collaboration, especially when you're dealing with the growth of capitalism and the desire for profit. But who has the particular justice system installed to be able to adjudicate a lot of these issues and be able to ameliorate the situation for the benefit of us all?
Kamji, I wanna predict something. I want to predict something. When you
Mhm.
come up with your children's, in terms of whatever program that you have, and only
Yeah.
does the same thing, look at the analytics, and I bet you the majority of the people who will swallow that content up will be people beyond the age of who you are targeting that information towards. I bet you there will be older men, in particular older black men. There'll be some older black women, but they will eat up that information. It won't be the kids, it will be the older black people, because many of us, I hate to admit this, but many of us, I'm sure you would know this, the typical adult in America reads at maybe a ninth grade level. So I don't know the kind of information you're gonna put out there, but see if you could get the age of the people who are gonna consume the information you're gonna put out directed towards children. I bet you there'll be an older crew of people. I bet you. But I'll leave it
Yeah,
there.
I'm gonna take. I'm gonna take. I mean, I'll take a look at it. I don't think that you're wrong, but generally, the idea would be for the next generation to receive it. As much as we people have debates all the time, and I was actually trying to set up a few debates, on this channel with the various like tribalist type of people, and these West Africans, these Ethiopians or whatever. But as you can see, like when it's the opportunity for them to get up and be a man and act like they got some fortitude in their pants, they run. They always run. So the point of the matter is that we have to have many different avenues to release this information. We have to use all the different tools in the shed, because believe it or not, when it comes to the development of Africa in the modern world, right? And I said this in the last episode, in the last show, nothing's going to happen until we're able to be honest about the evolutionary roots of African civilization in all aspects, from relationships, right? Interpersonal relationships to to infrastructural development and like space travel. They're all related because we all come from the same cultural substratum, that same continuum, right? If we're not willing to be honest about that and rigorous within our scholastic analysis, we're just going to be chasing our tail, you know, in 2200, having these same conversations in that, you know, futuristic context with zero progress.
Well,
You
let
know,
me
real quick, I just want to say too that I have interest in creating African-centered children's content. And if you guys have ideas that you would like to collaborate on putting out some content, let me know. I've been thinking about it for a while now since I spoke to Queen Thais. Shout out to her. I've been thinking about that more and more. That if there's African-centered curriculum, there needs to be African-centered content, movies, TV shows, books, you name it. So I think that's something that we need to be thinking about. Textbooks. We need to be thinking about that, and not just thinking about it. We need to actually start doing that now. So if you guys have ideas about things of that nature, just hit me up, and we'll go from there. Trick Happy 262 Plus says, "Nah, I would say the video is clearly targeted to children. It was a story format in a sense, so that fits perfect for children." Afro Native World, we're gonna get to that topic. That's gonna be the last topic of the night. Thank you for it too. I know Oni wanted to say something, and if anyone wants to add any last words on this topic, insert it. Speak on it after Oni says his piece. Oni, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll just be quick. I'll say, Buana, you gotta. So you see how we could say, "Hey, you're pretty stubborn on your idea," right? That's why you have these different levels. But I also want to say this. The reality is this: that you're supposed to have all of the levels. You can't focus on just the one level. And the clearest example is an example that you used yourself. You said, "Hey, you know what? I tried to read the Marxists and I don't understand the Marxists." Right? The reality is this: whether you understand the Marxists or not, this is one of the most influential ideologies on the planet, to the point where even we in our Pan-African circle could casually have conversations between which is better, communism or capitalism. Okay? But if you dig into the Marx, you dig into the Engels and so on and so forth, it's not something that most people can grasp, most Europeans. And I'm telling you this because I read a certain individual who, obviously you can't name who it is, but I read a certain individual who was being critical of the Marxists. And he was like, the thing with the Marxists have is that, one, they make sure that they have intellectual leadership, because every social movement needs intellectuals. Okay? But two, of course, they do have their own people on the ground level who are communicating with the workers on a worker level. And he's like, most of the workers are not going to get into the intellectual stuff, but there are the people on the ground level who are engaging the people based off of what the intellectuals are saying. But the point being, and that the Marxists are telling you, and what the Marxists teach you, if you even know what Marxist-Leninism is, which is, they form these cadres of these quote-unquote intellectuals who then lead the workers with their propaganda and so on and so forth. But the point being, you have to have that intellectual level. And if you do not have that intellectual level, you do not have that movement, you do not have success. So the last thing you want to be critical of is the intellectual part of your movement, because without that part, you're not going to have the people on the ground doing all that kind of stuff, because they're not going to be saying anything. And it's going to be like what we see here, where the lady missing the intellectual or having no connection to any sort of intellectual, intellectual. They're not going to have nobody on the ground level giving a propaganda thing, because how could they? And that's the whole point. I'll leave it at that.
I've read Marx. I've read the Communist Manifesto, and when I listen to people like yourself, and when y'all go through the material, y'all have personal annotations or personal explanations of what y'all interpret from it. I've learned more from that in the reading of the material personally than me just myself going through the material. I've learned different nuances and ideas that come from it, and how you all digest the material and explain the material. Me personally, I've learned when I listen to Kanye verse and how he breaks down a lot of the complicated topics into, he tries to do it in a very in a very everyday man language, and I personally learn from it, get a lot of information from it. But I'm wondering if the typical man on the street, the common man on the street, black man on the street, will be able to interpret the material and use it for his own purposes and things of that nature, and to empower himself. And I'm wondering about these kinds of things. But I would never ever. I think that the black intellectual has his place. But the only thing that me personally I would request from the black intellectual is never stray so far away from the grassroots that there is a disconnect. Like how it is in European academic or intellectual society, you have a big disconnect between, and a gap between, and a divide between the intellectual community and a typical man on the street. I wouldn't want that to be done for our people. I think that there needs to be the fact that we have our intellectuals, but they are so grounded that they are connected with the grassroots man on the ground. So we are one. We are one. We are stronger. We are trying to create a better system than they have. Because we are competing at the end of the day. So in our competition, I would want to create and design a better system that they have than they have. I'm drinking right now. I don't want to get in these intellectual conversations, but I would just leave it there. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there.
What are you drinking tonight?
I drinking freaking, what you call it? Appleton.
That man drinking the whole bar. You hear him, right?
I drink at Appleton right now, so I thinking, but I understand where the brother's coming from. But I hope they understand me, and I hope I'm trying to be as clear as possible right now in what I'm saying. So I'll listen to the playback tomorrow to see if I was making any sense.
You good. Afro Native World says he put up a prompt on the Discord on African Centered Comment. We only have a few minutes left, but I think I could squeeze in this topic. So I'm going to go to Shooter Breeze topic number 4. Real quick conversation. I didn't have a chance to go through everything here, but I like the little that I saw. Yes, RBG.
My bad. I just wanted to say something about. I know time is short. I wish I had more time, because what he's talking about is like really critical. I mean, it's like you can't use. It's like anytime. Like a lot of what's going on in the world and everything is just based off, you know what I'm saying? Just the Bible it has to be utilized with, you know what I'm saying? What a lot of people are saying with some sense of scientific, rigor. You can't like look at the Bible in like any kind of book. I mean, and like really like get into it or make it seem like there's any history to it. I mean, it's like it's only something you can look at after looking at hard history and like trying to look at hard, in order for people to it's an art. Now this is the thing, getting to the people, that's an art. There's no like protocol for like getting all of our people, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you get to the man on the street? Because like at the same time, like people have agendas, people, you know what I'm saying, are going to ignore anything at any given time. I mean, you could have a fire alarm and people shut it off, not thinking like, well, I need to like fix the fire alarm. Like, you know how people are. I mean, I don't want to, put it all on the intellectual, because I mean, people who like know what's going on or have like intelligence about a situation or whatnot, it's like they happen to, you know what I'm saying, they're wired differently. They are trained and have some discipline about what to look for about the situation as they go about life. It's not something that like, it's just like with anything else. If people have no discipline about obtaining the world around them, they would just want to sit back and watch TV all day and passively like receive information. When you sit here and tell people like, man, get on the internet and like look something up. If you got a question about something, look it up. And people don't look it up. I mean, man, you know what I'm saying? It's always that versus the idea of like, if the intellectuals should just, bring it down to earth. It never quite works like that. I will say that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people I consider myself an intellectual sometimes. And when people say that, you know what I'm saying, I kind of get insulted. I like, you got to do what I do. You got to read like I read. You know what I'm saying? you know, you got to do the research. You know what I'm saying? You got to study and look at the words and make sense about it. And you look at more sort. You know what I'm saying? All the stuff that you was taught, hopefully in school, if you was paying attention. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to learn. You know what I'm saying? You got to learn. You know what I'm saying? Just how to figure out how to go around in the world. In the world, something breaks down on you. You have a supercomputer in your hand. You can't seem to fix it. I mean, in a pinch. I mean, these are the kind of things where it's like it's difficult. I mean, that's all I'm gonna say.
RBG, I apologize if I skipped you. I hope I didn't skip you during.
No, you didn't skip me. You had said that like if we could speak after only. I don't want to. And I kind of wish we had more time. I know the show's probably going to end soon, but that's all I want to say. You didn't skip. You didn't cut me off, sir. You didn't cut me off.
Okay, good. For time's sake, I'm going to put in this last conversation, this last prompt. I don't think it'll take up too much time.